I did not understand at first that ours is a covenantal rather than a creedal faith. I focused only on the freedom from creed. It was difficult, however, to describe Unitarian Universalism to others. There's no creed, I would begin. I described my faith by what it was not, unsure how to explain what held us together. I was excited to learn that our covenantal tradition began as early as 1630, when English Puritans settled in New England. About 30 families from various parts of England settled in Dedham, Massachusetts, and began to meet together for loving discourse to prepare themselves to enter into a worship community. In the wilderness together, they met for months before beginning their church to create a covenant, a sacred promise from the heart of how they would be with each other. They asserted their freedom to worship without interference from any higher authority, but with a keen awareness that their very survival depended upon their relationship to each other. Their freedom of belief came with spiritual responsibility to each other. Out of this early congregational tradition, Unitarian and Universalist congregations adopted covenants. A current popular covenant statement was developed by L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. While many UU covenants no longer focus on the Judeo-Christian tradition or even the divine, they continue to offer an aspirational agreement of how to be as a congregation together. While we are no longer facing imprisonment for our beliefs or unknown dangers in a new world, our need to learn how to love one another is more critical than ever before. It is not always easy to not think alike, yet still love alike. The covenant I am most intimately familiar with is that of marriage. My wife and I have considered ourselves wed for over 31 years, despite the fact that at first we felt the need to conceal our love and continue to be at risk of various kinds of legal discrimination. In some ways, we have felt ourselves to be in a hostile wilderness, but the biggest threat to our union has been the simple neglect of our covenant. I suspect we are not the only parents who became distracted from the cultivation of our marriage by travel team baseball, tutoring appointments, bills, chores, and in our busyness, we were careless with each other and accumulated small scars. You might call them passive aggressions or microaggressions. We were too well intended to be overtly unkind. Instead, we simply drifted away from our covenant, away from the pain, courage, and vulnerability that love requires, and therefore away from each other. The day our right to marry was granted by the Supreme Court, I was furious instead of joyful. I watched others rush to the courthouse and was grateful for UUCA's immediate embrace of this new reality. Yet I resented the government's intrusion into my life and its ability to withhold or grant something so sacred and personal. And in rejecting the right of anyone to define my marriage, in demanding my freedom to make this commitment, I was struck by the awareness of my own responsibility. Beginning couples counseling was terrifying. I didn't want to admit my need to be seen and loved, or acknowledge my petty thoughts or selfish behaviors. I didn't want to hurt my beloved with my honesty. And I really didn't want to compromise much either. It was hard. It was wonderful. Fortunately, our long-harbored, hidden resentments were superficial, and our love was deep. Yes, there were tears, and it was hard to let go of habits, but we began to have big belly laughs again and saw with fresh eyes how perfect we were for each other. It felt like we were falling in love again after only a few sessions, but we stayed for a year. Remembering our love was the easy part. Learning how to come back again and again and then again after breaking covenant was harder to catch on to. But the practice is so worth it. Reverend Alice Blair Wesley, a UU minister and scholar, describes a covenant as being not a contract, but a promise that is often broken, a vow that is not enforced, but renewed and healed through reconciliation, restoration, and forgiveness. The struggle to affirm our covenant is important work. Freedom from creed is important too. But being in community, in a covenant, cultivating our relationship is our spiritual practice.